Hello, and welcome to the second part of this painting video. Just going to jump right into it. The previous one I'll either have linked down below, or you'll be able to find it almost immediately on the Patreon or the YouTube. It'd be a pretty recent video. Alright, so I'm mixing a dark, just kind of pre-mixing one of the Perylene Green and the Alizarin Crimson, the permanent one. So, really trying to bring out my darkest darks. So I kind of just really like that aspect in a painting. And they're really going to reside in this area. My light's coming from the top left. Probably make this one a little bit redder. Bring it a little bit closer, but I expect I'll be going back and forth with that. This one almost seems to be floating in space, so I'm going to have to figure out how I want to try and ground that. So we have our two masses. We actually have a dark mass coming up in here, and these leaves are going to be a little bit on the greener side, or at least these masses look to be. And I'm just working from a poorly shot photo that I had taken the other day around sunset. Let's see. It's looking to get some darker elements in place. Before we do a dry off, with the landscapes, I've been, like the fields itself, I've been pushing things back and forth, kind of seeing what I want to do with them. This is the green gold. And honestly, using aerial perspective, where as things go back into that background, they're getting that purplish blue hue to them. But in this picture, they're a lot darker. So I could either do that, or I could take a big chance. And let's get ultramarine blue. I'll mix in some burnt umber. I'll get on the bluer side of things. Let's see what happens if we kind of almost wash this over it and look for that darker aspect there. And I can always come back and add more to it. And I think that's where I want to go with my shadows that come across from trees and objects over here. All right. I'm going to pause the camera. I'll hit it with the blow dryer. Alright, so in the last video, I mentioned the razor blade. If you do use one, just be careful. While I'm doing this, it might actually be a good time to talk about all the different ways you can preserve the white of the paper itself. So here, I'm just using a razor blade to scratch back to the paper itself. So I'm just cutting into it and damaging the paper, which totally fine. It's a technique that's been around for a very long time. Other methods. You can scrub back to the white of the paper using the different types of brushes, and I did a little bit of that here, but then I painted back over it. I'm not really quite sure what I want to do in that spot yet. You can use the magic erasers. They sell them in bulk. It's just an abrasive and it wipes back very quickly. It's like an eraser. There's no chemical in there, and there's no issues if you do that. Then the paper surface that you work on could be something that is very easy to wipe off on. That would be the Yuppo, which is insanely easy to wipe back. It's you're painting in a different style whenever you're doing that. Then there is also things that you can do to the paper beforehand. You can coat it with a varnish. David Dunlap does that in a video on Turner. You can coat the paper with gum arabic, which I found helped lift it very easily after you painted on it. I think there's also like a medium that you could add into it that's kind of like a lifting medium. You can use wax on the paper itself. That wax creates an area resist. Apparently you can't remove it. I thought I had saw somewhere that you can kind of heat up the paper with a iron and try to heat the wax up and kind of get it to transfer onto tissue paper. But it's probably not worth the effort. So I haven't tried wax yet. There's the masking fluid, like the Frisket and all that. And those guys, I always have a hard time removing it, and I don't have the planning skills to prepare for them. But I feel like sometimes it might just be a fast and loose application. What's his name? Rick Sukowitz uses that a lot in his paintings. So a lot of different things. The bad thing about the razor blade is when you're scratching in this fashion, it still has a little bit of an area that's lifted up around it, so it doesn't like really pull it all out unless you're sitting there legit cutting it. The other issue is that this is the whitest white of the paper right now, and in this scene I have blue that shows up behind these trees. So my next experiment on this one will be glazing over it and creating washes with those colors. Also, since I'm filming it real time and doing it as a demo, I'm trying to rush it a little bit. But I'm sure you could almost sit there and plan out every single scratch if you wanted to. I'm just trying to use it like negative painting, where you can see groups of trees forming because of this, or foliage, as well as the branches. Okay, so a little bit haphazard. I want to see how it looks. Okay, so it does open it up quite a bit, like the picture that I'm working from. I think that, you know, we could save glazing towards the end. And right now, it would be fun to take this brush and just put another layer of branches and trunks in. Painting over those holes does prove to be a little bit difficult as it now breaks up the surface of the paper. Let's see, I want to get a dark going. I think the perylene green would be very beneficial. And that would lead us over towards stippling. So this video has been like kind of a culmination of a lot of different experiments. None of the experiments complete, but a lot of different ideas and what's coming to mind with them. So when I look at the Hudson River Valley painters, I see stippling taking place, especially with the foliage. And with tonalism, a lot of the times we try to shorthand the textures, where we're using the chip brush to do this. So that being said, Stuart Davies often calls it the illusion of texture. So here I am actually putting in each leaf, kind of going against what I usually do. That being said, I feel like it does look off, and I feel like I'm trying to figure out what the correct key is to doing this texture if you were to do them by hand. So looking at the old masters, sometimes it just seems like a haphazard mark, and that haphazard mark pulls it away from just a series of dots. And that would be something I would like to kind of get to the root of. But for right now, we'll use this. And mainly using this perylene green in my darkest areas. To do this. Also, just putting texture over the dark areas just gives it a little bit extra something. I remember watching Eric Kopel using a brush, and he was doing it with oils, and then passing it over and softening those brush marks, kind of like what I'm trying to do here. I had used the Hansa Yellow. This is Hansa Yellow Light. This one's on the cooler side of things. I haven't quite used it enough to really figure out the best way to use it in tandem with the Hansa Light Medium. Sorry, Hansa Medium, which would be a little bit warmer. Or at least that's how they're described. But the Hansa seems to be quite a common color in a lot of palettes, or at least pre-made palettes that are coming out now. So that was the light. Here is the medium. Let me know if that shows through as a difference on the screen. Greener and a little warmer, more yellow, more, not really so much red, just a warmer yellow. And putting along the edge of that dark spot to catch the light. We do have other spots in there that catch the light, so let's look at this texture and see if that reads the right way. One thing that I was trying to describe to my friend Jacob, a photographer, is that with the painting, you could often paint the trees and they can look good, but they can also be kind of two-dimensional. But if there's a way, you know, just to bring the three-dimensional shape of it and have it start coming out towards us, just giving a little extra life to those shapes. Grab a squirrel mop. We've been exploring this background, kind of just making it darker, just getting the tones there from the picture itself and not just relying on atmospheric perspective. So once again, ultramarine blue and burnt umber. Shadows from the left. I wonder how it would look if we brought one of these shadows right up into here, connecting with that guy. Go more burnt umber. Just so it's warmer as it comes closer. That makes me curious. Not sure the green gold works right there. Get some of the hints of yellow. Hints of yellow again. Actually, so this is something I really haven't experimented with, but sometimes you can get interesting textures with the whole flat blade. Yeah, there's a lot of texture there. Van Dyke. Kind of just scrubbing random textures. I want this dark right back here. And all right, I'm going to pause for a dry off. All right, so we're about, overall, between the first video and this video, about 50 minutes in. And we've experimented with a lot of different things. I wanted to pick out a little bit more bird holes. Okay. Before I do the next part. All right, it's quite interesting. Let me know what you think, if you like the cutting in there. By the way, commenting and all those type of things help this channel out. I think that it somehow makes it more likely to be found in algorithms if there's more comments on it. So liking, subscribing, all those type of things will help this channel out. Okay, let's see. I want to bring the edge right there. I have not really been addressing this spot. It would be a nice spot to bring up a branch and create maybe a branch coming up right like that. Let's see. I'm going to use the Chinese brush. I'm going to get some black on it. Let's pull this from, where do I want it to start? Get a very calligraphy-esque branch coming out. Hopefully it dries to our liking. Just feels like that area right there wants to be the center of interest. In fact, the edge of this tree can be cut into some more, so it's not so blocky. That's just another big thing. It's just the edges of trees and looking for the interest. I think the best result would be to go out and study trees a lot more. But the second best would be looking at old master painters and seeing how they put together those edges. And being able to film it and stand up and look and see has helped out quite a bit to give me ideas. Just looking for a dark, before we do this next part, I'm going to bring that up a little bit. Catching paint that's already there and pulling it up into other spots is just another opportunity for more texture. Just random textures that don't read as a brush stroke. And the picture doesn't show the lighting here. It doesn't have a bright light right in this spot, but I think that's what I'm kind of going towards. Let's see. Here's the Hansa yellow light. That gives me what I'm after. Maybe a thin. And then here's the Hansa yellow medium. And then my idea is that, you know, we have all the brush strokes underneath it. We're working with transparent watercolor. Even though it's to the point where it's heavily applied and opaque, you're still going to see some of that layer underneath it. And that's why we see not just a nice smooth wash. Then here, this is kind of throwing a Hail Mary. This is the gamboge. That might be what I want alongside some of the gold. I like to bring it up into a shadow. Here's some gold. So I know it's a lot of back and forth, and I know it's a lot of, it's probably difficult if you want to follow along with this, because it's kind of just building up the scene, just developing it, just playing with ideas. But, I mean, I hope you find it interesting. I hope it's helpful in some way, shape, or form. Some of that ultramarine mix with burnt umber. I don't know if I said in this video, but of course you're always welcome to follow along and sign your own name with anything you do when you follow along, because I want you guys to have fun and enjoy your work. You have my express permission to sell anything you do when you follow along, because I want you guys to have money for art supplies. And if you want to support this channel, liking and subscribing. I think I could still lift some wet spots. That adds some texture too. I'm going to take a moment to see where we're at. Well, it looks pretty cool. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the first video, I was still pretty out of it from that surgery, but it's looking kind of cool. Might be worth trying to glaze over this and see what happens. I'm going to pause the camera, hit it with the blow dryer, and we'll try that. Now, I have been playing around with a lot of glazing. When I do that, it really kind of changes everything up. Sometimes I glaze over the whole painting and just change the whole effect and the whole feel. But I think it's worth experimenting just in this spot. Sorry. That being said, it is hard to get the paint to cover whenever you are scratching out areas like this. I'm going to grab Naples Yellow. I think that's what I want to do since we have Naples Yellow behind. We could use... Actually, let's just pass it right here just to see what it looks like. And see if that's our cup of tea. So I put it right there. Another one I like to do is the Hansa Yellow or the gold. And the gold, even though it doesn't show up in the picture and like the photo I'm referencing, might actually be more fun. So originally I was thinking the Naples Yellow. And then we could push it around. Let's see how that looks. Is it? Oh. Let me check it, it just went